Hi, welcome to this video. Thanks for watching. So this video is about a series where I'm going to be talking about and journaling, vlogging, my journey to better health with Mounjaro. And this video is about the review of the data. My name is Jocelyn and I'm actually starting Mounjaro today. So my goal of the videos is to provide insight, information, and inspiration for those who are also using Mounjaro or for those who are struggling to be healthier through different lifestyle stuff as well. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the research I had done to learn more about the drug and what I can expect, really the results after taking this medication. Disclaimer, the content in this video is not medical advice or a treatment plan. Is intended for general purposes, education, and demonstration purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose or treat any physiological or physical or psychological or physical health condition. Nothing contained in the content should be misconstrued as such. The content should also not be used to self-diagnose or self-treat any mental health, medical, or physical condition. Don't use this content to avoid going to your medical doctor or health professional or replace the advice they give you. Consult with your doctor or healthcare professional before doing anything contained in this content. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified healthcare professional with questions you may have regarding your mental health or medical condition. Go ahead and talk about what I discovered when I wanted doing the research for this particular drug. So let's talk about first, why am I talking about this? Well, I was recently prescribed this medication. I do have type 2 diabetes. I am currently obese. I have high cholesterol, which some of the data talks about that. I have an underactive thyroid, which there's some talk about thyroid a little bit, not too much, but it's important to talk about that as well. I don't know what I can expect after taking this medication because there's all sorts of information. You see all these people doing this and that kind of stuff, and I want to know what can I expect from the actual data. I have a Bachelor of Science in Cellular Biology from the University of Georgia. I used to teach anatomy and physiology, so I know a little bit about the body and how it works. I have a PhD from the University of Alabama at Birmingham in Health Services Administration. So I know how to read studies and read journal articles and such and kind of break this down for you all, and so you can understand it a little bit better. Note, I am not a medical doctor or medical professional. And I'm going to butcher these names because I am not a pharmacist. So what is, you might have heard it as Mounjaro, but it's also called Tirzepatide. Okay, again, I might be butchering this name a little bit. So what is it? And I get my information from solid sources, and I'll link the sources that I use in the description of the video, like the NIH, articles that are published in high quality peer reviewed journals. So not just pulling the information from what a website might, and plenty of websites do a good job of outlining what it is. They typically have writers who have this background information, but I like to go to the source and pull the information myself. So from the NIH, Tirzepatide is a novel, meaning just new, medication that is FDA approved. So that's good, right? It's FDA approved. FDA approval takes years. They have to go through clinical trials and things of that nature for the treatment of type 2 diabetes. This is going to be important when we talk a little bit about costs and whether your insurance covers it. Given its potent weight loss properties, so meaning that, hey, it also helps people lose weight, can be used off-label for obesity treatment. We'll talk about that in a second. It was approved by the FDA in May of 2022, and it's either sold as Mounjaro and Zepbound. So when you see the word Tirzepatide, that's just kind of I'll call it the chemical word. If I say, I need you to go out there and get me some acetaminophen, you're like, what is that? And I say Tylenol. You know what that is. So acetaminophen is kind of the chemical name of stuff, and the brand name is Tylenol. And so Tirzepatide is like acetaminophen, not that it is acetaminophen, just a comparable the name. And Mounjaro is Tylenol, the brand name. So that's where the differences are for that. Usually what happens is after the patent runs out, they'll start selling it under the chemical name. Patents last, I'm not going to go much into patents, but they last like 20 years and stuff like that. And then once the patents expire, then generics can come in. So we got a long way to go before generics come out, whether or not they're cheaper, they're the same, I'm not going to go into that. Okay. It comes in multiple dosages. They're all these in milligrams. So this is a 5 milligram dose, and it goes from 2.55, 7.5, 10, 12.5 to 15 milligrams. 15 is the largest dose. Lilly is the maker of the drug, and I got this information from Lilly, like how much is it? And it said the list price is $1,069.08. It says per fill. It doesn't tell me what per fill is. I'm assuming per box. Now, this is one box. It contains 4 single dosages. And like it says, you use 1 pen per week. And here you see over here is the actual pen. It does need to, I don't know if it needs to be refrigerated all the time. When it came to me, it came in a box that said, it came with the ice pack and stuff. I just threw it in the refrigerator. My thought is it probably needs to be in the refrigerator. So I'm assuming that 1,069 is per box. So 1 month could be 169. There is a savings card on the website. If you have government programs like Medicare and Medicaid, you can't use the savings card, but it says if you do have commercial insurance that you can use those savings cards. So I'll link that in the description. I'll link that in the description of the video. I have commercial insurance. I paid $25 for 3 months. It is only available as a prescription. Please, 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 please talk to your primary care provider before going to any other places for stuff. Talk to your primary care provider. Please, please, please don't be going to weird places, online pharmacies to get this. This is not supposed to be for medical device or anything like that. Always go talk to your primary care provider. Is this Ozempic? No, it is not Ozempic. I think Ozempic is a little bit more talked about in the world today. I'll move this little video so you can kind of see the kind of information on here. But it is not. It's the drugs very similar, but they are different. Let's talk a little bit about this off-label use and what it's used for. So when a drug comes out, it's meant to do something. And this drug is meant to treat diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes, not type 1. I'm not going to go into the difference between the two. They're just different. It used to be called, type 2 used to be called adult onset diabetes. Now, a lot of drugs will have its purpose when they are being developed, and maybe as it's being developed, they notice certain things, or maybe even after it's been out for a while, they notice certain things will help out for other things. There's seizure medicines that people will get prescribed for migraines. There are antidepressants that people will get prescribed to help them to quit smoking. There are injectables that are meant for the relaxation of muscles, and then it's used for cosmetic reasons. So that's when it says off-label. It's designed for something, and then for through some type of studies or kind of noticing things, it'll say, hey, it's also available to be used off-label. Now, here is where the issue with the off-label comes, is with your insurance company. So let's say I have an insurance company. Let's say there's a husband and wife, and they both have the same insurance. They're both on the same insurance plan. Say the husband has diabetes, and he goes to his doctor, and he gets prescribed Mounjaro. He goes home, he takes it, it's doing pretty well, he's losing weight, his diabetes is going under control, and his wife is like, oh, this is fantastic. She goes online, maybe she watches this video, and she's like, I want this too. She goes to the doctor. And depending on whoever the doctor says, I've been prescribing this for people who want to lose weight as well. Blah, 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 blah. You talk to your doctor and he prescribes it. Typically we have two things. We either send it to the online pharmacy or we send it to the retail pharmacy, not we, the doctor. So the online pharmacy is typically tied up with very closely with they're all tied very closely with the insurance. And then you might get an email or a call and they say, hey, look, we're working with your doctor because this you do not qualify for coverage for this medication because the wife does not have diabetes. So she's using it for off-label use, for just the use of weight loss. And the doctor and the insurance company says, wow, this drug is $1,000. Of course, they're not paying $1,000, but they're saying it's $1,000 for you to use, for you to lose weight. And they may come back to the doctor. This is kind of all kinds of way this works. They may ask the doctor, hey, does this person have type 2 diabetes? What is the reason for that? And they may ask the doctor for some medical records and things of that nature to try to get you approved. If they find, for whatever reason, whatever their process is, that they are not going to approve you, they will deny it. And they say, hey, look, you can buy for it. You still have a prescription for it, which is a good thing. But this is where people are paying for it out of their pocket, the full amount. Now, you can pay for it through your FSA, flexible spending account, your HSA. You can pay for it out of your own pocket. I think Care Credit, you could do something like that. And so if it's, that would be a discussion, of course, you would have with your doctor and such. Have to think about the cost, because this is not a treatment, and we'll talk about kind of the studies and how long it takes for you to really see these results. This is not something where you're going to take it for a month and you're going to lose 100 pounds and you're going to be like fabulous, awesome. So you got to think about if you don't have it approved, $1,000 over months may be worth it to you. If it's going to a retail pharmacy, sometimes they'll do the same thing, but other times they'll just wait till you show up and they'll say, hey, this isn't covered by the insurance. You still just want us to refill it. And you'll ask, well, how much is it? And they'll say it's $1,000, or they may have a savings card or something like that. And this is where their savings card, that'll be in the description. That's through the company that makes this drug. So it's not through me or anything like that. They may be able to help you out. So that's just something to think about. If you're interested, you can always look on the back of your insurance card if you have commercial insurance. You can look on the back of your insurance card, call the insurance company, and ask them about the drug, whether or not it's approved, and whether or not it's approved off-label if you don't have diabetes. Even if you do have diabetes, they may not approve it. Not all insurance companies will cover it. So you may have insurance A through your work, and your husband maybe has a different insurance through his work, insurance B. His is covered, yours is not. So there's a lot of things that are involved in all of those sorts of things. But again, that's how the off-label and what it's being diagnosed for and why your insurance company may not cover it. Again, you may have it and you may not be covered. Then you ask, well, why? Why, if, losing weight, of course, would make you a whole lot healthier, a whole lot better. And they may even say you need to have a history of diabetes. Like, it's not just an initial diagnosis. You may need to be on multiple medications. I've had diabetes for 20 years. We're on 3 medications for me. So this is number 4. So we're trying to stay off insulin because insulin's just has much more problems associated with it. Uncontrolled diabetes. I can lose my feelings. I can lose my toes, my legs, my eyesight. I can end up in the hospital. I can have all sorts of complications. And as an insurance company, my thought is, well, I'd rather pay $4,000, maybe a couple months, you can maybe get on track and maybe we can get off this medication, versus spending $50,000 on a couple weeks hospital stay. So that's the reason. It's economical. It is what it is, your opinions, but that's just kind of how this off-label, on-label stuff works. Functionally, it stimulates insulin release from the pancreas and leads to a reduction of hyperglycemia. Okay. Functionally, it stimulates insulin. Okay, we know that the pancreas is what secretes insulin, and insulin is what helps to lower your blood sugar. Hyperglycemia is just a technical term, it's a medical term for high blood sugar. All right, emia meaning blood, glyce meaning sugar, hyper meaning high. Okay, so what it does, it says, and this is why it doesn't work for people who have type 1 diabetes, because they don't have, their pancreas does not secrete insulin, so there's no reason for it. And this this was over 40 weeks, and it gave the results. Over 40 weeks, it had a 2.11% reduction in hemoglobin A1C at the 5 milligram dosage. This is the second dose. Remember, the first one was 2.5. 5 is the second level. 15 is the highest. And if you go all the way up to 15, you saw a 2.34% reduction in hemoglobin A1C. If you're not familiar with hemoglobin A1C, that's a blood work that's done. You go to the doctor's office, they go to it. Normal hemoglobin A1C ranges, it's supposed to be less than 6.5. Anything, and there's all sorts of ranges about pre-diabetic, diabetic, and stuff like that. My last one was 8.5. Okay, so my hemoglobin A1C is too high. It needs to get down below 6.5. No, I think diabetics is 6.5. I think the normal range is slightly different. Let me just get that. Yes, I'm wrong. So the normal range for hemoglobin A1C is 4.6 to 5.6. The American Diabetic Association recommends people who have diabetes to have it below 6.5. So you can expect a 2% reduction in hemoglobin A1C. Now, it says a 2% reduction. Now, when I first saw it, it's like, am I subtracting 2% off of 8? It's no. It's typically 2 points. So hemoglobin A1C is given in a percentage. So mine is, my current is 8.9. So it's 8.9%. So with this drug, if I stay on the 5 milligrams, which I was diagnosed, after 40 weeks, I can, on average, it may be more, it may be less, I can expect it to drop 2%. So I could go, let's just do 2%. Let's just up this to 9. So I would go from a 9 to a 7. So I'd be really close, right? The same thing with the 15 milligrams, a little bit higher efficacy. Right? Remember, it said because of the weight loss efficacy, blah, 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 off-label. On the 5 milligrams after 40 weeks, this is again from the NIH, says you can expect to lose 11.9 pounds. And on the 5 milligrams, and then 23 pounds on the 15 milligrams. It also increases the level of adiponectin. Again, I'm going to butcher these words. Its dual agonism ability leads to a more significant reduction in hyperglycemia than GLP-1 agnostic agents alone, and lowers the user's appetite. Ooh, as it does. It makes people less hungry, but it also slows down the time it takes the stomach to empty. So you feel fuller longer, and you're basically, your stomach, the food stays in your tummy a little bit longer, versus being secreted out through your stomach into your small intestines. So that's how this drug works. And there's, of course, much more complicated things than that, but this is just sort of the basic gist information of this. So the first study I found was this one, Tirzepatide. Mounjaro and Zepbound, after intensive lifestyle intervention in adults with overweight or obesity, the SURMOUNT-3 phase 3 clinical trial. This was published in Nature Medicine. Again, I'll link this up on October 15, 2023. This study was funded by Eli Lilly, the makers of the drug. Okay, so what are, I will talk about those results. The second one had a little bit more. This was the clinical trials for the Surpass, and we'll talk a little bit more about those. The biggest difference between the first one is that this was based off of this more recent. This is based off of people who are, the goal is weight loss. This one, the goal is control diabetes. So the information is going to be a little bit different. So I would say the study number one is an off-label study. So the participants got 15 milligrams of Mounjaro. The demographics were about 45 years old, mostly female, mostly white. The inclusions are they had to have a BMI of 30 or higher, or a BMI of 27 or higher, greater than or equal to, with comorbidities, including hypertension, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, cardiovascular disease. The exclusion is type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and also TSH levels that were out of range. So this is off-label. Remember, this drug was initially developed to treat type 2 diabetes, and they're excluding people who have type 2 diabetes. So if you don't have type 2 diabetes, and you're interested in seeing how this works for you, this is something that you may be interested in. TSH levels, this is what your body secretes for your thyroid-stimulating hormones from your pituitary gland. Tell your thyroid, keep pushing out medication. Your thyroid's to not giving out enough medication, which, if you understand anything about thyroid hormone is energy level, so a lot of people who have thyroid issues have problems with energy and stuff like that. Let's talk about what happened. It was a 72-week study, and it said it had an intensive lifestyle intervention. So not only did they get the drug, they had an intensive lifestyle intervention. So everybody, I think it was a double-blind study. So what that means is people are pulled into the study, and some people are in the group that basically don't get the drug. They may get the intensive lifestyle. I can't remember if that was part of the control or not, or maybe it's just do what you want to do, or they actually get the drug. So you don't know, the researcher doesn't know. Usually it's like they just randomize it, do a random pool, and you don't know what you're going to get into. Sometimes what they'll do is they will give, you might have heard of a placebo drug or something like that. Really good studies will give something that looks like the drug for people to give the injection to, but it actually is just saline. They won't actually get the drug at all. But that's a little bit more intense. Most of the time, these interventions with these double-blind studies, like you get the intervention and you don't. Okay. Also, they had to do physical activity, 150 minutes per week. So that's 30 minutes 5 times a week, right? And they also got behavioral counseling for 14 sessions over 6 months. So they got the drug, and they also got basically the stuff that we should be doing anyways, reducing our calories and increasing our physical activity. So let's see what the results were. I said to myself, if this was me at my current weight, currently where I'm at, we're assuming I don't have diabetes, I don't have underactive thyroid, which I do. But we're just going to assume this is me. So if I was to start today, I'm at 196.6 and I'm technically considered obese. In 4 weeks with this, using the drug and also exercising, dieting, going to behavioral counseling, I could expect a 1% reduction in weight. So I would lose a couple pounds, okay, in 1 month. So a couple pounds, hey, that's better than no pounds. And as you see, it goes up. So we have 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16, 20, Right here is where the data, where they actually pull the data. These numbers are me looking at the chart and pulling those numbers from. Okay. So the whole thing lasted for 72 weeks, which is about a year and 5 months, a year and a half. Expect if I was to do all of those things to go from 196 pounds on average, could be more, could be less, down to 160 pounds. So in 8 weeks, we'd go from being obese to overweight. So in 2 months, on average, I can expect to go down from being obese down to overweight. And of course, those numbers are going to be higher because they go by the reduction of 4.5% versus how many pounds you lose. So I just did 4.5%. To at 60 weeks, a little over a year, to finally get to normal weight. Think about what I said at the beginning about the off-label use, whether or not it's worth it to you. Of course, any weight loss any sort of weight loss is better than no weight loss, especially if you're struggling, and I get it. I've struggled with being overweight practically all my adult life, so I understand how that goes. But I want you to see that this is not a magic pill, right? That if we don't know, I did not go for any studies that looked at just the use of this drug, but you have to separate out the fact that these are people that are actually doing those extra things on top of it. Overall improvements. In 72 weeks, they had an 18.4% decrease in their body weight. Awesome, right? Most participants maintained some weight loss, 94%. Their waist circumference went down. Nice, right? Lower waist, we know that studies been shown less belly fat, better for your heart. Their blood pressure went down, systolic, diastolic. I don't have blood pressure problems, so I didn't do that. They also saw an decrease in total cholesterol, non-glycerol, 3 to 25%, which is awesome. And also had decrease of your fasting glucose by 8.8. So your fasting glucose is what you have when you wake up in the morning. Sometimes the doctor might say, hey, you don't have anything to eat before you go to the doctor. If they suspect you might be on your way to having diabetes. You might get a finger stick when you're at the doctor's office. It's supposed to be under 100. I think it's supposed to be under 99. So if you walk in and it's 108, well, then it would be 100. You're fasting when you wake up in the morning after you've spent all night sleeping. Where you see it, and it says a decrease in hemoglobin A1C by 0.5%, which isn't very much, right? So if I'm at 8.9%, that goes to 8.4%. But remember, these people who have type 2 diabetes are excluded. So your body, yes, lower hemoglobin A1C should be HB, actually good for you. Your body is not going to start dropping it serendipitously because you're healthy in your hemoglobin. It's going to keep a level. So in this one, this is that off-label stuff that we talk about. Not for a person like me. This, what I need to do was find a study for people like me, which is the SURPASS clinical trials. So in all of these, they had to have type 2 diabetes. The exclusions, they had multiple exclusions, people who were pregnant, those sort of things, but every last one of them, anybody who had type 1 diabetes, anybody who had complications were excluded. They had to have hemoglobin of between 7 and 10.5, so this would be someone like me. Above 10.5, you're really getting into a lot of danger zones, stuff like that. This is supposed to be BMI. I swear, you would think this is my first time at the rodeo doing this. This is supposed to be BMI. So they need it to be at least overweight. And the studies lasted different times. There was 40 weeks, 52 weeks, which is a year, and 40 weeks. So we got a little bit less than 2, that were a little bit less than a year, and 1 that was a year. The first one looked at people who had metformin, who were prescribed metformin, which is a lot of times the first drug that people are prescribed. This one is metformin and or SGLT2I. They had to, let me break this down. They had to be on metformin. They had to have type 2 diabetes. They were given either 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 15 milligrams of the we're going to call it the Mounjaro, okay, versus getting Ozempic or one of those drugs. That's the semaglutide. What they found was better results if people used the Mounjaro versus something like the Ozempic. So let's look at these numbers right here. We see the first study that we looked at does not talk about only has a small percentage of the reduction in hemoglobin A1C because these people are not diabetic. Okay, but let's look at the weight loss. So on 15 milligrams, this one lose about 24. Let's just say 36.6 pounds if I didn't have diabetes and I was on the first study. So let's remember that, about 36 pounds. Okay, so let's go back to the study over here. This one doesn't have as much weight loss on this one at 40 weeks. 36 pounds was about a 10-pound difference. So you think to yourself, what is the 10-pound difference? It's the intervention. It's the exercise, the diet, and the getting, help with controlling how you eat and stuff like that. The psychological stuff element. 36 pounds on the other one, but so you have to think to yourself, it's probably that 10 extra pounds is due to the intervention. So if you look at this and you say, well, 24, if I do have diabetes and I take this medication and I also take and I also do intervention as a diabetic, I may lose about 36, maybe even more pounds, and then my blood sugar is going to go down a lot more. That's just my assumption, kind of based off of what this is. If we look at the next one, the next study was metformin and or SGLT2I. These are drugs like Invokana, Jardiance, Brinzobe, Farxiga, Steglatara, sorry again. And they lost a little bit more weight. So if you're on a little bit more medication on these drugs, so what have I learned? The results are very good for those who have diabetes. So what have I learned? The results are very good for those who have diabetes, right? And the hemoglobin A1C reduction, I was doing a little math. I could expect to be about 1.93 to 2.37. So I need about a 2.4 reduction to get to my target. With just the prescription alone, I'm going to get close to my target. With the intervention, I should get below my target and get to it much faster. And it's also good for cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood pressure. I don't talk about that with the second studies, but it does talk about that in there, that they do have reduction in those. Results are very good for weight loss, whether off-label or you have diabetes. I can expect to maybe lose about 20 pounds, intervention 2 to 40 pounds in between 4 weeks and 72 weeks. Without any intensive intervention, 16 to 28 pounds. So that would take me about 40 weeks to 52 weeks. So you could probably say, I could probably, again, maybe get down if I really, push myself, do what I need to do in order to get to those parts. This is just some information. I like to go to the source, look at the data, pull it so you can see, and then compare it to myself. Like we see these numbers and it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, for someone like me, this is what that means. I am excited to get started. I am looking forward to getting some good results, sharing those results with you. This is definitely, I need a lifestyle change. I don't like to say I'm going on a diet because diets we know don't work. I definitely need to change. Even starting last night, I made some slight changes in my food, my eating, and things. Took on my meds. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll learn about some of the things that I'm struggling with. So hopefully that helps you out and helps you to think about whether or not this is a drug for you. Again, talk to your doctor, your primary care provider, your endocrinologist, anybody else, your cardiologist, whoever you're talking to about your weight and your illnesses and stuff. And make a decision, think long and hard. I don't talk about any of the side effects. Every drug has side effects to it. So don't talk about anything like that. But hopefully it'll give you some insight on what you can expect if you start this drug. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.